On today's show, I'm going to be offering some advice on how to plan out your collection. That's up next. Collectors, it's Chris the Batman Statue Collector, and welcome back once again to Brotherhood of the Bat Collectibles. And on today's show, like I said, today I'm going to be offering some advice on how to plan out your collection. Now, of course, this is just going to be my thoughts and opinions on how I have planned out my collection. But a collector reached out to me recently and said, "Hey Chris, I'm new to the hobby and I wanted to know how you plan out your collection. How do you envision what you're going to do? How do you plan out for space? How do you plan out for finance?" And I thought, well, maybe that would be an interesting video that might help some of you out in the collecting community. And before we do that though, if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and click that notification bell. Make sure you choose all. That way you don't miss any of this content. Now, with that said, I want to start out with a vision, a focus. Some collectors collect everything they want, and that's awesome. Some collectors, they only collect Marvel. Some collectors only collect DC. Some collectors only collect Batman. Some collectors only collect Batman surrounded by his villains. Everybody has their own thing. But my biggest advice is it can get very overwhelming. And it got very overwhelming for me. I've talked about it before on the channel, where it got so overwhelming that I was so stressed out that the hobby was not fun anymore. I was spending too much money. I was buying Marvel. I was buying Star Wars. I was buying DC. Enough was enough for me. I had to pick a focus. And focus works for some of you. Focus doesn't work for others. It all comes down to personal preference for what is going to work for you. I said I want to focus on Batman. Now, of course, Batman has a lot of characters. You know, the Batman universe. There's heroes, there's villains. There's a million Batman statues. So I had to pick, okay, I'm gonna go with Batman. And then I even narrowed it a little bit more. I'm going to go Batman surrounded by his villains. I try to stay away from movie pieces, although I've messed that up lately. I also try to stay away from the heroes, which again I'm considering ordering. So it's even with my super strong focus, it's still very, very difficult to stick with that focus. But I do think that if you can try, and again it's very difficult, but if you can try to have a focus in your collection, so let's say that you love X-Men, maybe only collect X-Men, or if you love Wolverine, only collect Wolverine. It really, again, it's going to vary depending on your personal interests and whatever you want to collect, but try to focus and narrow it down to something. I also feel like, and this is again just my personal opinion, that a lot of times when you have a whole bunch of different genres all together, sometimes it can look a little bit jumbled, in my opinion. And again, that really comes down to display, and we'll talk about that here in just a bit. But really, you have to have a focus, and you have to have a vision of what you want your collection to look like. There are not a lot of options to display these giant statues that I collect. There are some things from IKEA, but at the same time, I had to have something that was going to be different and work for my space. So I built my own cabinets. There's a video, I'll put it up here if you want to check it out, years ago that I showed how I made my cabinets. But I had to have this vision, this focus of what I wanted my collection to look like. I wanted it to be like a museum. And so that was part of my planning. And planning to me is a critical part of this hobby. If you want to have a certain look, if you want to have a certain focus, this is important, at least in my opinion. Okay? Having a plan. Now, knowing that I only collect Batman, my plan was that I wanted to display my Batman surrounded by his villains. And at the time I was collecting the Arkham line. I still have them in my collection here. But I knew that I was going to need a long row of display options so I can do all the different characters that they were doing. And thank God that Prime 1 did all those characters. But I had to have that in mind as I was going forward. So if you're looking for advice on like what to collect, like that collector said, "Hey Chris, how do you know what pieces you're going to want to get?" Well, I have to think of the display space and I have to think of the display I want in my head. You know, is it going to come true? Right now, I'm thinking of the Prime 1 comic book pieces that I'm collecting. Again, I want Batman surrounded by his villains. Well, how am I going to do that? How am I going to display that? When I have a Bane that's, you know, this massive, massive piece, well, again, I had to build my own cabinets. I had to make the space work for the space that I have. And because of that, I also had to plan ahead of which statues were going to fit in that space, or which statues I would like to be in that space. If you're collecting a whole bunch of Marvel and you build this display for your Iron Man, are you going to want to put a Wolverine in there? Maybe not. So again, you have to have kind of an idea of where you're going to want to put things. Now, I've talked about it here on the channel. I am not afraid to sell items or get new items in, swap things out as my interests grow. So that vision might change over time, and that's okay. It's okay if it does that. If you rearrange your room, that's okay to do that. But I have a vision of what I want my collection to look like. There are a whole bunch of pieces that, believe me, a whole bunch of pieces that I would love to have in my collection. A whole bunch, especially Marvel pieces. I love Iron Man. I love the X-Men stuff that Sideshow's doing. XM Studios has all of these amazing things. I want them all. I want the Samurai line. I want all of it. But at the end of the day, you have to be realistic. Okay? You have to be realistic with yourself and your collection. Not only space, but also financially. Where are you at financially? Is this something that you can willy-nilly spend on? Or do you have a very limited budget? Now, of course, these companies that sell these things, they always have a payment plan, which is amazing. I don't use them, personally. I just save the money, I have them in my bank account, and when I'm ready to buy one, I look at my bank account and I say, hey, do I have enough to buy this? And if the answer is yes, then I pre-order it. Okay? But I think financially, you have to be responsible. You don't want to spend above your means. If you're somebody that wants to have a collection like mine, but you don't have the money to do it, work your way up. My collection did not always look like this. I started out with premium formats, and that's all I had. I started out before that with Hot Toys, and that's all I had. I had 3 or 4. That's it. And then I started getting into premium formats, and then I started getting into 1/3. You have to build up. Don't expect your collection to be amazing, but be proud of the collection you have. It's not about the size of the collection. It's about your love and passion for that collection. Be proud of that. Be proud of how you display it. And also spend some money aside, or put some money aside for the displays themselves. Again, I built my own displays. I had to do that, but that cost money. I had to buy the shelves, I had to buy the wood, I had to buy the paint. I had to budget for that stuff. Okay, all the money that I budget for all this stuff is outside of my family. So the money I make at work all goes to my family. Okay, it all goes to my family. But everything extra that I work for, that goes into this channel, it goes into my display. So again, you have to be smart. Pay your bills first, make sure there's food on the table, and then go for the statues or whatever else you want to collect. Cars or whatever, you know. I also do a spreadsheet. A spreadsheet is something that's as simple as, actually mine is just a Word document. It's not even Excel. I don't really like Excel, but I do love Word. So what I do is I list all of the statues that I currently have on pre-order. Okay? Then I tab over, I put the month it's going to be released. Or the quoted month that it's going to be released. Usually they're always delayed. Then I also have the price I paid minus the deposit minus any discounts plus any tax if there's going to be any, and I usually leave shipping off because shipping you just never know until it ships. And I put that amount on the side. And so I list each and every single one of those that I have pre-ordered. I have a running total with what is going to be what I'm paying whenever they all come out. Okay? Below that, I also have all the statues that I'm wanting with the amount of money, when they're going to be coming out, and I have that bolded in a different color. And then if I choose to pre-order them, I move them up to the pre-order list. But I always get that running total so I know where I'm at. If you simply keep buying and buying and buying, you might end up screwing yourself over because you're like, oh crap, I don't have enough this month. Again, that's where the payment plans might come in handy. But I recommend keeping some sort of tally, whether it's a spreadsheet, whether it's a Word document. That way you have a visual about where you're at. And as soon as that statue arrives, take it out, and then your list gets smaller. But then you move up one of the want lists up to the pre-order list. At least that's what I do. Okay? But it gives you peace of mind to know where you're at in your collection, where you're at with your pre-orders. Okay? So again, it starts with a vision of what you want your collection to look like. If you have that vision, it helps you stay focused. It helps you avoid getting other pieces that you might really, really want. But what I've learned to do is appreciate those pieces through others. Watch the YouTube videos. Watch the other collecting channels. See them through other collectors' eyes and see their enjoyment. Because yes, do I want every single Iron Man statue that comes out? Yes. But I can't. I cannot do it. And it gives me actually a big sigh of relief because I want to get them. I debate getting them. But almost 99% of the time, I talk myself out of it. Now, of course, there is some exceptions. I didn't want to get any movie pieces, but I've been getting some Heath Ledger movie pieces in. And I've made that part of my focus. I said, okay, I'm getting these pieces. I'm going to just focus on the Heath Ledger Joker. Okay? I'm going to still focus on Batman surrounded by his villains, but I'm making an exception here. You can make exceptions in your collection. But again, make that part of your focus then. But don't let your focus get too out of whack, okay? Because it's going to screw you over. And you're going to be stressed out, and you're going to be wishing that you had more money, had more space, and it becomes a nightmare. Now, even with my focus, I still have space issues. And you very well might. Some of you might have a big giant warehouse to display your collection. Some of you might literally have a closet, and I've seen that. And so again, you have to be conscious of the space that you're in. Where do you envision this statue being? Now, one thing that's been recently brought up to my attention that's really helped me, and it's been the Rogues Gallery guys. I would plan out a space. I would say, okay, here's this shelf. It's got an empty spot. This is where Talon from Prime One Studio is going to go. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to get Talon for another 2.5 years. So I'm literally leaving an empty space for that character. Now, that's fine. You could do that. But at the meantime, you might fill it with something else, and that's going to be okay. Also consider pre-order times, okay? Because again, 2 hours with a blank spot, or 2 years with a blank spot, that's no fun. Maybe spend your money in the meantime if you have it. Put a different piece in there for the meantime, and then swap it out when your piece gets actually in hand. That's something that I've been trying to learn myself. Because again, that vision is 2 years out, and sometimes that's kind of crazy to think that. But something like that might actually help some of you out there to really vision on, have that vision of what you want it to look like in the end. Do I have an end game? I don't. A lot of you do. A lot of you that collected the Arkham line said, I've got all the Arkham pieces. I'm done. Game over. I'm not going to be that way. I can't. Not only for this channel, it would get really boring if I didn't get any pieces in, but it keeps me fresh as a collector. I want the new pieces. I get excited about the new pieces. It's what makes this hobby fun. And of course, getting to know all of you out there. But again, focus, having a plan for your space, having a set budget, not going over it if possible, having a spreadsheet to be able to give you peace of mind on where you're at in your collection. I think that all of that will really help you as you consider planning out your collection. Big or small. Little budget, big budget. All of the same rules apply. And again, this is just something that's helped me out. And I hope it might help some of you out there as well. New collectors and the old collectors. Maybe it's given you inspiration to change up how you're doing things. Maybe some of you feel like you've been out of hand. Believe me, I've been there. I get stressed now, and I was really stressed back in the old days. And so having that focus has just helped me tremendously. Having a plan has helped me tremendously. And again, I hope it helps some of you out there. Let me know in the comments down below if you felt like this video was helpful. If you enjoyed it, please give a like. And again, just thank you guys so very much for checking it out today. I really appreciate it. Consider picking up one of our Batman Statue Collector shirts down below. Consider joining our membership. So many of you have recently joined, so thank you very much. That does give you guys early access to my videos and also some behind the scenes videos that I've recently updated. So again, just thank you guys so very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Again, in the comments, let me know your plan, what you're doing, and if this video helped at all. Thank you guys so very much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you in the Batcave. Bye, everybody. Now go get a spreadsheet. Hey guys, thank you so very much for watching today. And if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button right here on the screen and check out these 2 awesome videos. I think you're going to love them. And also please join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I would love to have you join in all the fun. Thank you guys so very much for watching. See you in the Batcave.